Hey, good morning. You're the fastest fingers in the internet. That must have taken you exactly like 1 second to see the notice that I'm on. What's up? Hello. Oh my god, over 100 people in 5 seconds. Pretty good. How's everybody doing? I put up a blog post just a minute ago on Colin Kaepernick. I'll be talking about him in a minute. Yes, I'm back in the Pleasanton saddle. Captain, my captain. Yeah, so I went down yesterday and taped the Rubin report. I think the full interview comes out on Friday, and I was in a very talkative mood. I don't think he got much time to ask questions. Moderates disagree with his snub. Yeah, I'll talk about all that in a minute as soon as we get a few more people in here. Voter hacking at its height. What are you talking about? Was there a new story on that? Dave Rubin is a rare leftist that is tolerant. He's open-minded. He was protesting the USA. Go back and read the post, and you'll see that I say what you're saying. The Black Swan should add to my list. You're probably right. That's a good point. Yeah, I should have something from Taliban on my list. Carmel, how's Carmel? You know, I need to go spend some time in Carmel. Impressions of him? Impressions of who? Your post is not popular with alt-right people. No, it's not. But I'm not alt-right. Do I care? I drink coffee the moment I get up. All right, so let's talk about, Fooled by Randomness and Black Swan. They probably should be on my list. You're right. You got a gun? I'm pro-gun. You can do the math. All right, let's talk about my blog post. Let's talk about football quarterback Colin Kaepernick, who is African American. And if you don't know, he is refusing to stand for the national anthem because, in his view, America is not treating African Americans right. So what I wrote about today is that I, of course, am in favor of his right to free speech, and I think that's a very effective way to do it. Because if somebody is willing to sacrifice their career and their reputation and really his physical safety to make a point, I think the rest of us ought to listen to it. You know, if he's not crazy, and apparently he's not, he seems to be pretty smart. If somebody's willing to take that kind of risk, if somebody's willing to take that kind of risk to make a point, let's listen to it, all right? So on that level, as a communication vehicle, and one that I think is worthy of respect, whether you agree with it or not, just respecting the messenger, I think he accomplished that. So I'm with him on that part. I was jarred just by what seemed a little anti-American, because I'm on Team America, and you hate to see your team get dissed. And if it's a member of the team, it seems even worse. So on some visceral level, it's hard to watch someone disrespect the country that you're part of. But that's the point, right? That's why he did it. It makes it stronger communication. And then I also wrote that, and this was not Kaepernick's point at all, just something that CNN pointed out as an aside, that apparently the national anthem was written by a slave-owning anti-abolitionist, Francis Scott Key. And some of the so-called, hidden or secret verses make a mention to slavery. And imagine if you were African American and you were being asked to stand to show respect for not just the country, but in a sense the song written by a slave owner anti-abolitionist. I would think that that's a fair point. That's sort of asking a lot. And in my opinion, we should change the song. Because, I don't see a lot of people asking for it, by the way. So if a lot more people aren't concerned about it, then don't bother. But I would say if that's a big concern for African Americans, that the national anthem is written by slave owners, I'm totally on your side as a member of Team America. If somebody on my team says, "Hey, your national anthem is fucked up and it offends me, and let's not celebrate somebody who was basically celebrating slavery," when he wrote the song, he wasn't saying, America in the future is wonderful. He was saying America right now in his time was wonderful, and they were slave owners. Now, I think you could make an intellectual argument how, Kaepernick should get over it, and it's in the past, and Francis Scott Key was really not thinking that way, and you have to adjust it for the times. And you could have lots of arguments. But the fact is, if it's deeply offensive to people on my team, and they have a reasonable reason for why they think that way, and I think they would, I'm in favor of changing it. The song itself is musically a disaster, and why can't we change? Why do we always have to stay the same? But to be fair, Kaepernick's point had nothing to do with the national anthem. That was just an aside, something that CNN pointed out and caught my attention. And I got to say, if somebody wants to change the national anthem because it was written by a slave owner, I'm totally on board with that. Totally on board with that. But what was Kaepernick's point? His point was, in his view, that America is not as friendly or as supportive as it should be of its African American citizens. Now, whether or not that's true, what your view of the facts are, is somewhat independent of the next point I'm going to make, which is, I don't know how it helped. It added some attention, but I think there was already some attention on that topic. But what's missing is the suggested solution. So if there is a solution, I'm not really aware of it. Maybe just calling it out helps a little bit. But really, what is he suggesting? Is there a proposal on the table? Has somebody suggested a good idea, something we could do to deal with his concerns, or maybe even just studying it better? Maybe the solution is, hey, let's just study it better and get a real idea, what the situation is. Anything like that I could support. If somebody says, here's this big problem, or even we think it's a big problem, let's do something about it, then I can evaluate the plan. What is it you want to do something about? But I can't really evaluate a complaint without a plan. And what I'd like to add to the conversation is that in 2016, the government is sort of upside down, in a good way, not a bad way. And by that I mean anybody in the world who has the internet anyway, and certainly anybody in the United States who has a good idea, has a good chance of convincing other people, at least online, at least on social media. If you had a good idea for fixing anything in the country, you could write that up, you could publish it, and if other people like your idea, they're going to share it, they're going to tweet it, it's going to go viral, and it will become noticed. If social media decides something is a good idea, then it goes to the next level, which is the mainstream media has to start talking about it if it becomes huge on social media. And then if the mainstream media starts talking about it, the politicians have to deal with it. All right, it becomes impossible to ignore if the media and the public want something badly. So the so the so the idea is that, while in the old days, I think somebody like Colin Kaepernick simply making a statement saying, "Hey, there's a problem here, we need to do something about it," was valuable, and I think that's valuable again here. But the part that's missing, and the part that we can do now that wasn't always the case, is that any one of you can come up with a better idea. What is it you want to do differently? What is it that would make a difference, right? Write it up, put it on the internet. If I like it, I'll retweet it. I'll help you out. So my offer in my blog to Kaepernick is, if he's got a solution or even an idea that's worth discussing. I don't need it to be the ultimate solution, the best idea in the world, but from a brainstorming perspective, if Kaepernick has some ideas and they have some merit, at least on the surface, I'll tweet it. I'll blog about it. I'm on the team. If you want to make America better, tell me how. I'm with you. It's not the Confederate flag, dude. But you know what? You know what else wasn't the Confederate flag, dude? The Confederate flag. Until people started talking about it, and then it became a big deal. End welfare and the war on drugs. Well, ending welfare is one of those things that's easy to say and hard to do. The lengths that Hillary's going to prepare. Yeah, I did read about that. History, blah, blah, blah. Changing it to God Bless America will offend atheists. Yeah, it would. Got to make working more attractive than welfare. Yes, and I think what you need to do is figure out how our jobs can be better jobs. There's a distance between where the jobs are and physically where the people are. So every F that has a beef is now a genius. Do you remember some of you know my discussion about how to identify cognitive dissonance? It almost always starts with the word, not always, but one of the ways you can tell is that it starts with the word so. Usually what follows is somebody mischaracterizing what you said, because they have to mischaracterize it because what you said wasn't bad. So they have to mischaracterize it to then object to it. So you just saw the comment that said so, and then every F that has a problem you should listen to. As soon as you see the so, you can ignore everything that comes after that. Why is Hillary wearing winter clothes all the time? Well, I think there could be several reasons for that. One is that at a certain age, people are just colder all the time, and she's certainly at that age. Another reason is that her body is, is one that you need to dress in the right way, or else you're making a fashion mistake. I don't know how to say that in any polite way. She's a lizard shapeshifter. Well, okay. Yeah, reparations, I can't say I can get behind reparations. Trump's attack on Weiner as a security problem. Well, from a logical standpoint, Trump is correct, because people do talk to their spouse, and people do tell their spouse things they're not supposed to tell them. Can you imagine anybody who has top secret clearance and is married and doesn't sometimes tell their top secrets to their spouse? I would think that's probably rare. I would think almost all married people with top secret clearance at least sometimes tell the secrets to their spouse. Probably not, the little stuff, but I'll bet if something big is happening, it's hard to go home and just sort of live with that and not tell your spouse the thing that's bothering you so much. Oh, so on a different topic, I was reading, somebody sent a link, because I'd mentioned this topic, about how easy it is for the president to initiate a nuclear launch. All right. So we know that the president can launch the nukes, and he's got something called the football that's being carried by one of his aides, and the aide's only job is to have that, what's called the football, coincidentally, that is just a briefcase. It's got some nuclear codes, and there's a little process for putting the codes into some kind of technology that will launch the nukes. But here's the part I didn't know. And by the way, this is a pretty big deal. You can't launch the codes just by being the president and wanting to. Apparently, you need a second opinion. And the second opinion comes from the Secretary of Defense. Now, if the Secretary of Defense is dead, there's some kind of chain of command, but there's always a second person. So it turns out that the president can't launch nukes, doesn't have that power, doesn't have it physically, and doesn't have it constitutionally. And I didn't know that. Did you know that? By the way, how many of you knew that the president cannot decide on his own to launch nuclear weapons? 2 keys needed, yeah. Well, you're a lot smarter than I am. 2 keys you knew? How did all you know that? And I didn't know that. I mean, here's the thing. I assumed that was true because it would be crazy to have the president just be able to push a button and launch the nukes. You've all watched movies and stuff that have that in it. I thought everyone knew. Yeah, I knew. I guess I could say I knew from a common sense perspective, meaning that it just would be crazy to have a system where one person can destroy the world. And I'm a little bit surprised that it's only 2. It feels like it ought to be 3. Learned it from a submarine film. All right, you watch better movies than I do. Can the president choose the Secretary of Defense? Yes, the president does choose the Secretary of Defense. So that was getting to my point. Let's say you're afraid that Trump will launch the nuclear codes. But suppose, and by the way, I don't know if this is legal. I don't think it's necessarily legal. You can correct me on this. For a presidential candidate to specifically say who his cabinet is going to be. Somebody told me that a long time ago, but fact check that. Can a president say in advance, if I'm president, I will nominate these people for the cabinet? Must be confirmed by 2/3 of the Senate. All right, well, there you go. I think that's a pretty important point. So let's say Trump, let me just run this by you as a strategy, see how you respond. Let's say Trump puts forward the name of somebody he would nominate as his Secretary of Defense. That has to be, as someone here said, confirmed by the Senate. And suppose that name is a very sane, dependable name, somebody isn't too old, somebody who isn't going to have Alzheimer's. I don't know who that would be. But surely there are plenty of rational people that we trust. How would that make you feel? Would it change your decision on I'm too old. Yeah, the Secretary of Defense, of course, would talk to his aides, but he doesn't have to follow their opinion, apparently. Trump is the most anti-war candidate since Carter. Probably true. Broken Arrow. So, all right. But let me ask a question directly. If Trump nominated, or said in advance that he would nominate somebody very dependable that the country knows and trusts as his Secretary of Defense, let me throw out a name. Let me throw out Newt Gingrich. All right. Now, Newt Gingrich is, conservative, and so all conservatives are scarier than all liberals, at least, in the public's minds. But is there anything about Newt Gingrich that suggests he would launch nuclear weapons without a really, really good reason. All right. Would you feel comfortable with that? Forget about what you think about, Newt in general or his policies in general. Do you think he looks crazy? And you think he is a nutcase? I forget what the no's are for. No, you wouldn't feel comfortable, or no, you would. Let me ask the question better. If Newt Gingrich, this is just an example, if Newt Gingrich were the Secretary of Defense and Trump were the president, and you knew that you need both of them to launch nuclear codes, no matter what you think of Trump, would you feel comfortable? I would. No. Newt, Secretary of State. I think it's more likely he would be Secretary of State. You're right. Someone more beta. Why? Yes, yes, yes. No, yes, no, yes, yes. No, 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 no. Now, I think a lot of the no's are more just because he's a conservative, right? I'm assuming that it's Democrats who are saying no and Republicans who are saying yes. All right, give me a name of somebody who Trump might realistically nominate as Secretary of Defense, who you would feel comfortable with being the second person with nuclear codes. I don't know enough about Flynn. I don't think the country knows enough about Flynn. And by the way, Michael Flynn was not impressive in interviews. So I have to say that that's the only thing I know about him is his interviews. Colin Powell. Colin Powell may have aged out of it. Gates. Petraeus. Jim Webb. Julian Assange. Flynn. I think Flynn's a non-starter because we don't know him. Maybe a woman. There's an idea. Oh my God. All right. Why did it take so long for somebody to suggest someone who is a member of 50% of the population of Earth? Yeah. Let me ask the question again. So forget the question. Let me re-ask the question. If Trump picked a Secretary of Defense who was a woman, who was well-known enough, would that change your opinion of the likelihood of a nuclear attack, given that both Secretary of Defense and the President have to sign off on launching the nukes? So some people say Condi Rice, but there aren't a ton of Republican women who don't have some kind of a crazy reputation already, whether that's earned or not earned. But, if you look at the Palins and the Bachmans, they kind of have the crazy reputation as well. Why are we not thinking of other famous Republican women? Name some Republican women who do not have a bad reputation. Ernst? Okay. It's funny that we don't know their names. That's telling you something, isn't it? Joni Ernst. All right, I keep hearing the same name, Joni Ernst, but honestly, as a member of the public, most people don't know who she is. I think you'd really have to pay attention to politics. Haley, Rice, Fiorina. Huh. Peggy Noonan, I don't think she wants to run for office or have that kind of job. Ann Coulter, that would be scary for the public, I think. All right, Roseanne Barr, yeah. All right, should be a man. I'm female and I don't want a female defense secretary. Why not? What would be the problem with a female defense secretary? Is this women saying that? I think women on here are saying that women should not be the Secretary of Defense, which surprises me. Women are meaner. Wow, I didn't know how many women don't trust women with the nuclear codes. I didn't see that coming. I'm a woman and totally fine. Yes, I'm a woman and you don't want a woman. Women women's in-group preference. Okay. All right, let's change the topic a little bit. I need you to give me some ideas for drawing a comic today. Is anybody at work? Does anybody got a problem? Anybody have a work problem that I could write about? Yeah. I'm on 4chan now. I'm sure they're saying bad things about me. Work? Does anybody have a work problem they want me to write a comic about? Reducing staff, on free seating. Yeah, I've done that. Affirmations, safety moments, lack of focus. Lack of focus. I've done a lot on that. Reduction. Force by Western influence. Oh my God, there's a lot of suggestions. Force diversity. Printers keep breaking. Tennis not playing. Watching porn at work. I've done almost every one of these ideas. And of coffee. Nothing about coffee. Nothing about physical stuff. Nothing about food. Oh my God, I can't even read these. There's so many. Problem is, washing. Evaluation every month. Oh my God. Service dogs. No bathroom stuff. Micromanaging. Discrimination based on looks. I'm going to do one discrimination based on looks. I wouldn't get away with that. Breastfeeding coworkers, I've done that. Service dogs, I can't do anything with service dogs because Dogbert's a service dog. Service cats. Lack of free will as an excuse, a little esoteric. Dogbert gets put down. My God, what happened to you? Who broke you? Discrimination based on expertise. Longer focus. Badly bearded bosses, too much political talk. Come on, give me better ideas. These are. How about ideas about how you feel about stuff? Discrimination on bilingual, new computer update. You don't want to give in to the capitalist system. Safety moments. I think I'll do something on safety training. All right, that's my idea for the day. I'm going to have to go off and work. You should too. Safety training it is. Overregulation. Yeah, that one's hard to do. Yeah, maybe something on faxes. So safety and faxes. All right, I gotta go. See you later.